Supply and Demand Chain Executive.
And I'm Brielle Jekyll. I'm the Associate Editor.
And I am McKenna Morales, and I am the Assistant Editor.
And today we're talking about 3PLs and cold storage trends and technologies in relation to Food Logistics Top 3PL and Cold Storage Providers Award. Our Top 3PL and Cold Storage Providers Award recognizes leading third-party logistics and cold storage providers in the cold food and beverage industry. I want to send a big thank you to our sponsors. You'll see their logos scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout our conversation. You can also learn more about all of the winners of this year's 2021 Top 3PL and Cold Storage Providers Award by visiting foodlogistics.com. So according to American Trucking Associations, the trucking industry moves more than 72% of the nation's freight tonnage, and over the next decade, will be tasked with moving 2.4 billion more tons of freight than they do today. So from temperature-controlled foods to COVID-19 vaccines, the global 3PL market continues to play a pivotal role in how and why Americans receive essential goods in a safe and timely manner. But one of the things that I personally noticed with all of these award winners was their ability to overcome the many supply chain disruptions in order to keep product moving through the chain. And it wasn't just about moving product, it was about maintaining their customer relations. This year's winners just kept on trucking. They invested in emerging technologies. They implemented sustainable efforts. They employed workforce training and retention programs. They worked hard to take care of their customers and their customers' customers. Yet they still struggle with the same challenges, the most common being this ever-present driver shortage. This is something that I talked about in length in the cover story for our Food Logistics August issue, which is the same issue announcing our award winners. Almost all of the winners in this year's Top 3PL and Cold Storage Providers Award are wrestling with trying to find good quality drivers. And how do you find these drivers? How do you train them? What kinds of perks are they looking for when entering the supply chain industry? Then there's the other side of the coin in terms of how do you retain these quality drivers that you already have? How do you keep them happy? Data from the American Trucking Associations reveals that the industry currently faces a shortfall of nearly 61,000 drivers and will need to hire roughly 1.1 million new drivers over the next decade to keep pace with the economy's increased freight demands. Keep in mind, earlier, I did say that the trucking industry moves more than 72% of the nation's freight tonnage and will continue to move more than 2.4 billion more tons of freight than they do today. So getting those additional employees on staff to keep up with the driver shortage is pivotal. The e-commerce boom coupled with cybersecurity risks and pandemic and other challenges continues to put a strain on many of our nation's fleets. Brielle, I'm going to toss things over to you so you can talk more about this employee retention problem we have going on.
Right. So like you said, there is a driver shortage. There's a labor shortage overall in the warehousing and logistics sector. So it's very important to focus on retaining your employees. And there's a lot of things that go into that. My favorite thing to talk about is technology. If we're talking about 3PLs and cold storage, I can talk about the truck itself. Me and my fiance were traveling to a Yankees game the other day, and we're on the major highway, and we see this old semi, and it's an old truck, and it's a part of a 3PL company. I could tell because it had the logo, and the truck was so old, and it looked like it could fall apart at any moment. And it just made me think, most people, I know there are some people who do like their old things because they like to keep things the way they are, things that they're comfortable with. But most people, even in your personal vehicle, you don't want something old. You want something new and comfortable that has, that runs smooth, that has the technology that can make your life easier. The best 3PLs for employee retention are buying, quality equipment that their employees can use, not just on the road, but in the warehouse as well. People want equipment that they can easily handle, that isn't too complicated, that fits in well with their day-to-day activities. So, having an old truck on the road can be a detriment to your company, and not only in employee retention, but in, mileage and efficiency, all these other things. Another important thing is benefits. We're seeing a new wave of benefits in the supply chain and in employer relations overall. People no longer want a job that the benefits aren't good enough. That's like a huge part of keeping your employees today. Nobody's going to stay at a company where they don't feel value in their, personal lives and their health and, long term. So that's another really important thing as well. And then just the overall culture of the company. I want to say that employees have more control today. They have the power because of the labor shortage. So it's really important that you create a culture that your employees want to be a part of. In any sector, there can be toxic cultures in a workplace. And so making sure that a non-toxic environment where everyone is heard is trickled down all the way through your company is really, really important to keep your employees happy and to keep your employees overall.
Wonderful. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk cold storage. McKenna, you wrote the intro for our Top 3PL and Cold Storage Providers Award. Why don't you give us some insight on what's going on the cold storage aspect?
Yeah, so cold storage obviously plays a massive role in the cold food and beverage industry. And according to a study by the Global Cold Chain Alliance, the total capacity of cold storage facilities worldwide was 719 million cubic meters in 2020, and that is up 16.7% in capacity from 2018. So in just 2 years, it grew significantly. And the United States currently holds over 150 million cubic meters, making it the single largest country market. But also these numbers are only going to continue to increase as more consumers shop online for their groceries. We saw it with the pandemic. Everybody sought out online grocery shopping because it was safer for them. But findings from a February 2021 Acosta survey claimed that new shopping and eating behaviors adopted from the COVID-19 pandemic are most likely to stick around. The survey found that 53% of shoppers reported spending less time in stores, while 50% of shoppers reported stocking up on food and cleaning supplies. But that is just like a small example as to why the world needs cold storage and 3PL providers. These companies help manage the cold chain and are crucial to protecting and meeting the demands of customers at a time where there is just so many.
Well, thank you, ladies. That's a wrap. Thank you all for joining us today. Be sure to go to foodlogistics.com to learn more about the winners from this year's Top 3PL and Cold Storage Providers Award. Congratulations to all of our winners.